what I said yesterday happened yesterday. I thought we might have a little follow through with momentum in Nvidia, but we caught this. This was remember this now going into the future. That when you hear companies report that things could not be better, they're right. Okay, so it's in the stock price. So this was 61.8 back. We're trying to hold this 180 level. We took it out a little bit yesterday and traded downs trying to recover. But now even though we have a little bit of a recovery in the S&Ps, you have to look at things on a weekly basis because I rarely see major reversals on Fridays, unless it's accompanied maybe by an NFP, which has Fed implications. But I still think that this market is in trouble. There's your weekly on NVIDIA, and here's my target. So, I think you still have to sell RIPs, and I think we're headed towards this 153 prior high in NVIDIA. All the semiconductors took it on the chin. And you know what, guys? You know how long I've waited for this to happen? You guys been following me a long time. Uber, look at this week. All right, so we finally got that breakdown under 90, and it was there yesterday. I mean, you could have done something here, but this measures at least 80. And when I take a look at this weekly, look at it, it's already at the 50 week. And look how long it took. I started shorting this on a third drive up here. And then we had three drives for the last drive, okay? A fractal of a three drive, one, two, three. And then it kept holding, just like it kept failing. Now it's given way. I think 70 is easy. And maybe, under 60 before it's over. I also have this line that I could extend out. Kind of looks like a megaphone to me. That says, that we might see a 50 handle. So just something to pay attention to. It was a real popular stock. That's why I was shorting it. And this was during the tariffs, because during the tariffs, a lot of tech stocks were getting hit, and people were looking for companies that would not be affected by tariffs, which Uber's a pretty good example of it. And people piled into it this year. So I think they're on the back foot and that Uber's in trouble. So I don't know if it's because of what's going to happen with Lyft and Waymo, the fundamental things. I brought up things that, a lot of women are uncomfortable taking Ubers. And here in California, they're saying that you could arrange for a female to drive you. So, there might be, some, problems with competition. Anyway, that's Uber. So let's get back to some of the markets. We're getting a rebound in Bitcoin. I did want to talk about that on a 4-hour basis. We confirmed. So, but it doesn't discount the fact that we could have a pretty nice bear market rally here in Bitcoin. Yesterday, I thought we were going to have some divergence. I said, don't get short, but I've never said buy it. It's very possible that we're going to get some type of rally. And, I'd say that 92, remember my swing point. Um, I saw an analyst today that thinks 50 is possible in the next year. So we'll see. It's not my favorite long. I really still don't want to be long anything. I still think there's a lot of liquidity problems, except maybe the dollar. Okay, so I think the dollar approved itself this week. Here's the way that I played semi-short, and I had shown this chart before. It's right here. And we have a nice little breakout here too in the SOX triple X bearish semiconductor ETF. So it's 3 times bearish. A nice little breakout. I think we could see 6 in the next couple of weeks. And even though we're getting a bounce in the market, I think there's still lower levels left. You look at the weekly chart in S&Ps, doesn't look much better than, what I showed you for Nvidia. So, we're up 32 right now, but look at this weekly chart. Little divergence here. Sell rips. I don't think this rally is going to be long lasting. In fact, what happened is, well, one Fed official came out and said he wants a cut. So now the market's in the hope for a cut mode, and that's what they're going to be hoping for all the way to the Fed meeting. And the weaker the market gets, the more likely it's going to happen. If we were at contract highs, the Fed wouldn't be thinking about it, I think. Plus, they have a little fodder with what's happening here in the employment report that we got yesterday. But, it's not like we're getting any kind of great move to the downside in yields. In fact, we're getting a little reversal candle. I still think we could trade above 420 and squeeze people here. Bonds continue to hold this 88.5 level. Really got a test of this breakout here last night. So if you want to stay long, fine. It looks to me like we're developing some type of head and shoulders formation, and we take 88.5 out, we're headed lower. So I can't get real bullish on long-term bonds. Gold, didn't have a great week. It's holding up much better than silver. Here's your weekly. It's an inside week compared to silver being a pretty good down week. See that? So I still think silver is vulnerable. I'm going to stand by my 42 target in the weeks and months ahead in silver. And what really took silver down was the turn in the gold silver ratio that we had yesterday. And we're getting a pretty nice week. So I look at this being, A, B, and C. So if we're going to rally above these highs, like to 90, that's going to put silver at a pretty big disadvantage during that time frame. And I do think that gold will head down as well. And it's also correlated with a stronger dollar. Okay, so um, let's get to the dollar now. So now I think we're on our way to, that 102 level. And, we'll have some people saying that maybe we have some type of double top here. I think you have to buy a pullback. If we get a pullback towards 960 next week, that would maybe take the euro back to 15 and a half or so. I'm going to be curious to see what happens there. The Aussie on the verge of a major breakdown that I've been talking about for a while. Still see 62 cents coming. And the yen, finally, we're getting a little pullback, but, there's confirmed highs all over the place on the daily. I don't think we're diverging. Yeah, confirmed here on the 4 hour. So even if we pull back, I don't think these are the highs. I think we'll get another push up, maybe to the old intervention levels, which were here last year. Okay, it was a successful intervention for the BOJ. So we're approaching it. That's at 159-ish, and this is up around 161. So still nothing wrong on a weekly basis. Some pretty good momentum. I'm not ready to short that. I'd be looking for rallies to sell in cable. Maybe we could get a rally back to 2.5. I doubt it, but maybe. It's putting in a higher low, just like euro. But the dollar, I think that with what's happening with liquidity in the markets, that this is going to be an environment where people are going to be going to the dollar. When they're raising cash, they're in the U.S., they're not going to the euro. Okay, maybe if you were selling the DAX, you go the euro. So could be some dollar demand. I just did an interview with Mike Kramer, who was showing all the drains of liquidity, and the dollar's part of it, but in the plumbing with settlement dates and repo rates, which is really a dollar shortage when you look at the Fed's balance sheet right now. There aren't enough dollars. So the only way those reserves increase is through liquidation of assets. Check the guy out. Um, I also want to just talk a little bit about what's happening here in WTI. Boy, it takes a lot of patience. This thing looks like it's headed for new lows without the rally to 64 that a lot of people were looking for, unless it really digs in its heels here. We could be on our way to making new lows. And the thing I have the most conviction about actually is probably short silver, and that the market break has just begun. A lot of people think we're going to hold here, and we could be at new highs by year end. Let me just give you a reminder: sell rips, because the bears feast on Thanksgiving, which is next week, maybe into early December. And then maybe we get some type of, from lower levels, some type of Santa rally, and maybe it's Fed induced. And I don't think that's going to be the low either. I think it happens sometime next year. So there's going to be a lot of tax selling of losers over the next 30 days. Keep that in mind if you're in some stocks that are underwater. People have a lot of gains still, and they're going to want to take tax losses on positions that aren't working. So VIX, when I was on the air yesterday, we were down here on a gap lower opening down here, and I said, I think the VIX is going to hold here. I still think we're going to see 35 to 40. This to me is a little pullback from the last high, and I don't think these highs will stand. And you just take an arithmetic target, call it 16 to 28, and tack on 12. That's going to give you 40. So I don't think the market bottoms until we see the VIX up around those levels. I hope that maybe you caught some of the Nvidia short or some of the semis or some of the things I was right about this week. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how I could help you with anything else that you're not clear about. The divergences, the three drives. I want you guys to learn. And I also want you guys to come in and check out the new Discord room at TradeGateHub. So you could go here to my section right here is where I post my stuff. This was an interview I did last week with Maggie Lake, saying that I would sell um, good earnings in Nvidia, that it could rally up to around 200. And then if you checked in yesterday before the opening, this is what I said here, Nvidia, and this was before the market opened. When things can't get any better, sell. 61.8 retrace, it was about 195 or so. Buy puts. So this is where you could find my stuff. Mike does a lot of option stuff. You could find him. Uh, it's easy to find. And then there's both of us sometimes here on the general uh, chat here on Discord. So everyone, I hope you have a great weekend. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings, and see everyone Monday. Have a great day, a great weekend, and do your homework and pick out some levels where you might want to buy the dollar. I think that's something that we'll attack next week. So adios, everyone, and see you next week.